Call to order, Charter Township of Plymouth, Board of Trustees, regular meeting, Tuesday, May 13, 2025, 6:30 p.m. Call to order. Roll call.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Trustee Clinton.
Here.
Supervisor Kermy.
Here.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Trustee Groth.
Here.
Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Clerk Vorva. Here. We have a quorum.
All right. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, everybody. So we're going to have a couple of proclamations today. The first one is recognition of National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a tribute to those in state, local, and federal peace officers who have died or been disabled in the line of duty. That date is actually May 15th. National Police Week is May 15th, May 11th through the 17th, and includes the Blue Mass and many other events that honor our police, that keep us safe. So we're going to have Sergeant Mike Hinkle come forward. I can give you this, and then also if you have any words to say, or Assistant Chief has any words to say. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. Don't worry, Mike, I'll say the words. So in a little bit of history on National Police Week, in 1962, President John F. Kennedy designated May 15th as Police Officers Memorial Day. That is a day set aside to honor police officers who've lost their lives in the line of duty. The week in which that date falls would be known as Police Week. In 1982, organized events started in Washington, D.C., such as the Blue Mass and several other events that run throughout the week. And every year, tens of thousands of police officers make the pilgrimage to Washington, D.C. to participate in those events. In 2024, so last year, there were 165 law enforcement deaths in the line of duty in the United States. 5 of those deaths occurred in Michigan. So far this year, we've had 25 line of duty deaths in law enforcement in this country, with the most recent being Lieutenant Alan Credeur from the Rain Police Department in Louisiana, and that death occurred on the 5th of this month. As police officers, going home at the end of our shifts is never guaranteed. Over the course of my career, I've attended I don't know how many police officer funerals, both in the state of Michigan and out of state. And we're not immune to it here. Even in 2009, one of our officers was shot in the line of duty. Officer Mike Lego, one of my training officers, during an armed robbery. So it's something that can touch us even here in Plymouth Township. So with that in mind, I want to thank the board for the recognition of National Police Week. So thank you.
Thank you. So now we have recognition of National EMS Week. Our fire chief will accept that, and this pays honor to the life-saving care that our valiant EMS people and our paramedics give to us on a daily basis. Thank you. Thank you. Anything to say? You want to say anything? Okay. So approval of the agenda is next.
I think Fire Chief was going to say something.
You are going to say something. I'm sorry.
Just real quick, hate to preempt our brothers in the police department, but we kind of preempted a little bit. Our week is actually next week. I have firefighter paramedics Austin Titterington and Dennis Suter here with us tonight. Austin's been with us for almost 3 years now, and then Dennis is 7 years. So we just appreciate the recognition, and I just think about all the providers out there who are providing EMS care to us throughout our nation next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
approval of the agenda for May 13th.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025.
Second.
Second by Buckley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the consent agenda because there's resolutions there that will require a roll call. So approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025.
You need a second.
I need a second?
Need a second.
Second.
Second by Groth. Okay. Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Groth.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So one of the items on the consent agenda is the appointment of Wendy Payne to the Environmental Leadership Commission. If Wendy is here, just come up to the podium and you don't have to say anything, you can just introduce yourself. No speech is required. And then we're also going to swear her in tonight at the same time.
At the same time, right.
So if the bar in front of you that has the red light, kind of make sure your voice projects over that.
Okay. Hi, I'm Wendy Payne. I have about 15 years in the energy industry as an energy manager for large industrial consumers, also doing sustainability plans. And I'm an avid gardener, so both sides of the environmental side.
Thank you.
Now is the official swearing in. I would like for you to read after me and just stand right up here.
Okay.
We're going to speak into this. I'll say I, you say your name, and then just repeat after me in small bursts, okay? Please raise your right hand.
Pardon?
I,
I, Wendy Payne,
excuse me, wrong one.
Thank you.
Yes. Wendy, I apologize. I gotta swear other people in later. Okay, just again.
I, Wendy Payne,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the laws, ordinances, and policies
the laws, ordinances, and policies
of the Charter Township of Plymouth,
of the Charter Township of Plymouth,
and I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of the Environmental Leadership Commission
of the Environmental Leadership Commission
for the Charter Township of Plymouth, Michigan,
for the Charter Township of Plymouth, Michigan,
being ever mindful
being ever mindful
that my service is a reflection on
that my service is a reflection on
the Township of Plymouth,
the Township of
and
Plymouth,
I will discharge these duties
and I will discharge these duties
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so I will need your signature right here. And that will be for you, and you can put that on your wall and show all the people in your family. And if you would sign this one right here for me. Again, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Folks, if you want to go down the hall here to the last room on your left, there's some more chairs if you want to get some for some of the people here. Don't everyone go at once.
Okay, just call your attention to item 3, which is the reports. Hard work on the part of our staff to get those done. So now we have the bills. Where is our public comment? Is number E, or letter E. This is non-agenda items. We only have one agenda item tonight. I urge you to stick to the 3 minutes and speak clearly and slowly enough. We have reverberation in the room. If you slow down your speech a little bit, it will make it more clear so that the reverberation waves don't interfere with your speech.
So am I to understand that we're going to be voting on this major issue, but the public comment for that item is after?
No, the public comment will be during. You'll be able to speak on the item when we bring it up, the agenda item. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah, well, that turns into a lot of talking
that's-
back and forth.
Well, that's what we want to hear. We want to have some interaction from people. Maybe some ideas will perk up. Okay, non-agenda items. This man raised his hand first, but.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roman. I know you.
Good evening, Roman Benson here with a formal request for the board and all the trustees to be placed on the agenda so we can publicly and openly discuss with township residents, with township voters, and with the board of trustees, whereby allowing two Plymouth families, the Benson and the Belas, to open up one retail cannabis shop in the community. In a continuing effort to educate everyone who wishes to, I've included a handout. The first is the formal request. Behind that, you'll find two articles. One article is two legislators that have come public and discussed what recreational cannabis has done for their communities and what it hasn't done. You'll also find a Pew Research Center study about the 9 facts of marijuana. And also, but this one's going to be by request, I do have a 100-page compilation PDF file done by the Federal Reserve Bank, by federally administered surveys, and also the Economic Policy Fund for Fundings, dealing with some of the myths that people have shared with me before, after, and an email about marijuana just in general. Now, I do know that personal beliefs on this topic are polarized. They're extreme, so I get that. However, sometimes beliefs that I've noticed, in my opinion, tend to be myths, and they become common for everybody. The 3 things that people keep on asking me about is saying, well, listen, we're worried about crime, we're worried about the teenage use increasing, but we're also worried about our property values. Now, I'm not going to give you the whole synopsis of what those studies concluded, but they are available for anyone that's interested. It's about 199 pages. I'm more than happy to email it to you. Long story short, short story long. When it comes to the issue of crime, 2 reports. The Federal Reserve Banking Report basically concluded crime near recreational cannabis centers is flat or decreased. If you read the article that I'm sharing with you in front of you, both legislators openly admit we get more complaints from Home Depot, Walmart, and Best Buy than we do about the recreational cannabis store. Second topic, teenage use. It's going to corrupt the teenagers of the community. According to the federally administered studies, teenage use in legalized states have actually fallen. And statistically speaking, marijuana use for teenagers is at a 20-year low. Last one being property values. My property values are going to go down, or you take the approach, not in my backyard. Let someone else deal with it. According to the Economic Policy Fund, overall prices for property located within a half a mile of any new cannabis shop has actually gone up 7.70%. Again, I'm giving a synopsis, I'm giving a brevity. The reports are available on request. I guess in final closing here, as trustees and elected officials, everyone's been appointed, elected to serve the community. All of you took an oath to perform a duty to listen to the residents, listen to the voters, and act accordingly. The question and answer I have simultaneously with a prefix is, if a majority of the voters in this area in the last election said yes to recreational cannabis, why not have a public meeting with the same voters, the same residents, and let them listen to what we have to say about opening up one little retail cannabis shop in the community? Question in general is, why the hesitance? Why not just put me on the agenda? The answer for me is fear, just thinking that the belief is not a myth, and just topical ignorance. Thank you for your time. I hope to hear from you.
My name is Joan Pence, and I'm a resident of Plymouth Township. I'm here tonight as a representative of Western Wayne Indivisible, part of a national alliance of progressive citizen-led groups from across the country, which together with other national groups has helped author much of the street-level activism and citizen lobbying that has figured in the news lately. The Michigan House of Representatives recently passed 3 bills, 4338, 4339, 4340, that should concern every person in this state. These laws require, now that's a frightening word, officials of municipalities, including but not limited to peace officers, to fully cooperate with federal immigration authorities. One need only scan the news perfunctorily of late to be met with reports of federal authorities in our streets wearing not one iota of identification regarding the agency from which they are associated, sweeping persons up, detaining them, and often deporting them to places other than their home country without one whiff of due process. So let's say, just for argument's sake, that we decided in this municipality that we did not want to cooperate with the worst of this jackbooted overreach. What can the state or federal government do to enforce this cooperation? The threat implicit in all this legislation is the withholding of state and federal funding. But as has become the theme these days, the authors of this and other legislation have neglected to consult our founding documents. It turns out that the 10th Amendment of the Constitution prevents units of government usurping authority not explicitly reserved for them, and instead reserves those rights, wait for it, to the people. I should add that all but one court finding within this current legislative season has failed to support these sanctuary jurisdiction laws. But before we leave this discussion entirely, I would like to address the contention that such immigration laws make communities safer, because the facts indicate that nothing could be farther from the truth. Local police, as respected as they are in our community, are protectors of all residents, says right on the side of the car, protect and serve, and yet often lack the specialized knowledge to handle such delicate legal matters correctly, which ends up opening up the municipality, that'd be us, to costly civil lawsuits. Further, making local officers into ad hoc members
Time up.
of the federal government, got 2 seconds.
Just finish your last sentence and then
Thank
time
you,
out.
I will do
Just the
that.
last sentence.
These laws turn previously cooperative citizens who might be an asset to local law enforcement into part of a fearful underground, whether they have reason to be suspect or not.
Thank you.
I get one, Bill? Yes, you do. Thank you.
My name is Alex Wassel. I live in Plymouth since 1999. And there's 2 issues I'd like to comment on. The first is having the marijuana business open in our community. I, as a citizen, and a lot of my neighbors are opposed to having retail sales of marijuana in our community. You might say in the early 60s, the potency of marijuana was quite different than what it is today. They used to say it was a gateway drug. I'd say today it's more of a gateway drug. And I oppose any efforts to open a business selling that product in Plymouth Township. Number two, about having sanctuary city laws in Plymouth Township. We are in a very safe community. I live every day under the laws of my community. I live under the laws of the United States of America. Those laws have certain regulations regarding immigration. If you're here illegally, you are not a citizen of this country. You are here illegally. If for some reason somebody thinks that it's okay to not regulate immigration or enforce immigration laws, they're wrong. We live in a constitutional republic, and that republic has a federal aspect, a state aspect, and a local aspect. And those laws must be enforced. So I speak against any attempt to not enforce the laws of our land. Thank you very much.
I'm Dwayne Zantop. I served 6 years in the military to protect this country. I'd like to know where the due process with these illegals invaded our country. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm just going to address the marijuana. I'm opposed. And if you look in, on the internet, I didn't prepare for this because I wasn't going to speak to it, but just Google negative side effects of marijuana. Marijuana can have negative side effects, both short-term and long-term, impacting mental and physical health. Short-term side effects include impaired memory, trouble concentrating, anxiety, paranoia, and increased heart rate. Long-term effects can include lung damage, increased risk of heart disease, and potential harm to brain development, especially in young people. Cognitive impairment. Marijuana can impair memory, attention, and coordination, making it difficult to think clearly or perform tasks that require focus. Users may experience anxiety, paranoia, and in some cases, psychosis, hallucinations, or delusions, especially with higher doses or in individuals with pre-existing mental conditions. The list goes on and on. Not interested. Not for this community.
Hello, my name is Gary Quigley. I live in Mayflower Court in Plymouth Township. A couple of things. I'm a strong believer in a citizen is a citizen of the U.S. and illegal immigration I don't put up with, and I don't think anybody should. They're not above the law, and the laws need to be enforced. They don't have any rights here until they're a citizen, in my opinion. Secondly, I'd like to at least let this gentleman here give the opportunity to address his agenda for his business. There's businesses like his all over the place, and I haven't heard of any crime, Westland, Walled Lake, anywhere like it. So I would ask that you at least give him an opportunity to give his, like I said, put on the agenda. Thank you.
Anyone else on non-agenda items? All right, we'll go to the big one. So tonight we want to consider the Salem Township Urban Services District proposal to use a pipeline in lieu of a local wastewater treatment plant. This property is essentially in the Carl's Cabin, Godfordson, M14, North Territorial, Napier area. It's about 1,400 acres. It was conceived in the 90s as an answer to aggressive development pressure that Salem Township was experiencing, because whenever you have a freeway, it attracts development. It's a natural process. Salem Township wanted to retain, I think they have a 2-acre minimum for house building, so they decided to create this district, which concentrates all of the commercial and heavy industrial, not industrial, heavy, what I would call dense housing, like 60-foot lots, those type of things. This intensified in about 2015 when there was a proposal to hook to the Western Township Utilities Association Authority. That was deemed infeasible because of cost and the desire of Salem Township to use a pipe. That pipe alternative finally came about and was rejected in court by Superior Township, a neighboring township. So the alternative today is looking at a pipe that will travel along Ann Arbor Road to Joy Road to Ridge Road, about 1.5 miles in Plymouth Township. It is not passing by Picnic Basket. It is essentially in Canton Township on the south side of the road, and it's in the Wayne County right-of-way. So what we want to talk about today is Eagle, as part of a major hearing that was held a little over a year ago, April 4, 2024, where almost 700 people came to the Northridge Church and told us all they did not want a sewage treatment plant. I don't think anyone said they wanted it. Even Canton Township people said they didn't want it. And many Plymouth Township people didn't want it. And the sewage treatment plant would be run locally by Salem. It requires a permit from Eagle. They are ready to issue their permit. They've written a letter on February 25th that said that, and they have held it up pending a potential pipeline solution or a better alternative that will be more environmentally safe or clean, let's put it that way. The sewage treatment plant will be safe, but it will be less clean because you will be dumping the outfall into the streams in the area. So what we want to do is talk about this. We've talked a lot. It's been going on for a long time, and the pressure is rising. The water system is in place. Some people back in 2016 said that, you weren't allowed to get water because you had to come through Plymouth Township. Well, they went directly to the Great Lakes Water Authority, and they have already hooked up to their main, installed a pump system and a generator, and the fire hydrants and the internal water lines. In fact, I've also heard that some internal sewer lines are in place. Now, unfortunately, much of this investment, or all of it, has been paid for by the taxpayers of Michigan in the form of grants totaling about $35 million over the last 8 years. I think about $14 million is left unspent. So if a pipeline is built, they're going to have to raise more money. Either Salem Township, and most likely the developer will have to do it. The proposed, some people have talked about the sewage treatment plant being less able to take leachate from the dump, or landfill, which is in Salem Township, funds their entire government. They want to keep that cash cow. One flip side of that is a pipeline that we currently have that runs through Northville Township is taking that leachate and giving it to Wautua and transporting it to Yucca, Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority near Willow Run Airport. And they restrict the quality and the amount of leachate versus, and we'll talk about this, maybe Eagle will be here and they can maybe give us an idea about leachate and their plant. So everybody will get a chance to talk. We want you to be as succinct and brief or clear as possible, and not overly repeat things, because we're going to be limited for time. Some of our board members are not feeling well, and so they want to get home and go to sleep. But this is a very big decision for Plymouth Township, Canton Township, Van Buren Township, and Ypsilanti Township. All of these communities would have to agree to allow a pipeline in their property. It's not really our right-of-way. It belongs to Wayne County, and it is not like the Metro Act for cable where you charge a monthly fee for somebody to use your right-of-way. It's not that type of thing. Other people have talked about agreements like 425s, which was rejected, not with a lot of study, but that was when Wautua was considered the prime candidate for a hookup. It's a form of, Section 425 is a form of temporary annexation of that property in the adjoining community. So, let me think here, what else? I'll just tee up Eagle since they are here. Eagle is the regulatory agency in Lansing. They've issued a Part 301, 303 joint permit authorizing Salem Township to move forward. And now they're waiting to issue an MPDES discharge permit, which will allow the water to flow into Fellows Creek and other tributaries in the area. They're holding it up, hopefully for a pipeline which is enclosed. There is capacity at YCUA, and Salem Township has been paying about $75,000 a year to hold that capacity. So let's hear what Eagle has to say. I am not advocating that we do something that is not good for Plymouth Township. The pressure is mounting to start the construction. It'll probably take 1 to 2 years to get a design and a build for a pipeline, and it's about the same for a sewage treatment plant that would be located at the intersection nominally, what's been said, at M14 and Napier Road, which is right on the border with Plymouth Township. Maybe Eagle can talk about, some people have said, well, the site isn't determined. I don't know when Eagle issues the permit, is it site specific? So we can talk about that. So we also have our state rep from the western half of Plymouth Township, Representative Jason Morgan here. And we also have our state senator, Rosemary Bear. I think I saw her in here. All right, is here, and they may have something to add to this also. We want to percolate up the ideas, but we don't, the elephant in the room is most people in Plymouth Township really don't want this development there because it will change the bucolic look and traffic and all of those things. But development is very difficult to stop in another township and another county. Canton Township is an example. We were not able to stop that growth, which became very explosive and now has over 100,000 people. So let's talk about it. Let's be civil.
So if we can't stop development, can we speak collectively, or what have they given us in terms of their terms and conditions that would benefit us as a township?
Right, and we'll talk, the attorney maybe can answer that. First, why don't we do this first? Let's hear what, you want to hear what Eagle has to say?
Yeah.
I think a good idea.
All right, so let's hold that one, and then the attorney will be able to answer whether and how much townships can ask in return for some type of community benefit for letting the pipe pass through a portion of Plymouth Township, the 1.5 miles along Ann Arbor Road, which there's probably about fewer than 10 houses in Plymouth Township that this will face. So this disruption will be low for Plymouth Township residents. Most of the disruption will happen in Canton if this happens. So let's start with do you have a quick one, and then we'll put Eagle on?
Right. Well, thank you for a succinct summary. And I'm grateful for our state senator, Rosemary Bayer, to be here, and Representative Morgan. I spoke with Phil Argeroff. Is Laura Verona here?
Okay, she's Eagle,
Wonderful.
right.
Wonderful. Okay, and Mr. Phil Argeroff will be here May 27. He is the Water Resources Division Director, and we appreciate your expert opinions.
You come to the
Yeah,
podium.
come to the podium.
And speak loud, not like what your mom said with indoor voice.
Will you qualify yourself?
Yeah, I was going to introduce
Okay.
myself. My name is Laura Verona. I am the Eagle Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Water Resources Division District Supervisor in our Warren District Office. My unit is the Public Wastewater Unit. So my unit handles anything wastewater treatment or sanitary sewer collection for the 4 counties in our district: Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, St. Clair. So this impacts my district.
Can you just perhaps really focus into that so that everyone can hear?
Okay. So if you can't hear me, I'll try to speak up more.
You need to speak to us primarily and speak as loud as you can.
Okay, all right. I'm not used to yelling. So we are faced with this proposal for this wastewater treatment plant. So I don't want to give like a huge introductory background of the laws, right? Because I'm sure that nobody really is interested in that. Other than, you know, under our Michigan rules, right? We have this application in front of us for the wastewater treatment plant. They have applied for their NPDES permit, which is a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit. Anybody who is going to discharge to waters of the state must have this permit for their discharge. So the application was made years ago, and it went through our permitting process. They have had to demonstrate, you know, what they were going to propose for their facility. Our toxicologists and biologists look at the receiving stream.
Good. Keep base here and talk loud.
Okay, so they look at the receiving stream and they determine what amount of pollutant can be discharged that would not be injurious to waters of the state. And in Michigan, we protect against all uses, right? So aquatic and public health. So the NPDES permit will have discharge limits that will be protective of use, right? Of the waters of the state for public health and the aquatic life. That being said, though, any pollutant that you introduce to waters of the state, right, is injurious, right, to some level. It wasn't there before, it is there now, right? So we have this alternative for a route that we permitted previously that went through Superior Township to get to the wastewater treatment plant in Ypsilanti. That's one of our larger wastewater treatment plants in the state. It's very well run. You know, it's existing infrastructure. You know, so we like to take advantage of existing infrastructure rather than building new gray infrastructure. And like I said, the effluent would meet water quality standards, right? But you know, it's still introducing a pollutant. And these small package wastewater treatment plants have their own issues for compliance, right? So, you know, there would be continuous monitoring, but there's continuous effluent, right? And you can't stop the effluent when it's wet weather too, right? So you have your base flow in Fellows Creek, and there will be an additional base flow from the wastewater treatment facility. So we have advocated at Eagle, like we try to stay neutral, right, on things, because we are just here to support what the laws are. In this case, though, we did take a stand and supported that the better alternative would be to send this wastewater to the Yucca wastewater treatment plant. That being said, you know, here we are at, you know, kind of at the 11th hour, and a decision sort of needs to be made, right? Does it, you don't get to cancel both, right? You have to live with one option. So either you get the wastewater treatment plant, because that development will happen, or the pipe route
How do we
to
know
Yucca.
it will happen?
So we have the NPDES permit ready to issue, right? They've met all of the obligations by law, by the permitting criteria, and there's no, I don't know how to say it right. There's nothing that we can do to not issue a permit if they've gone through the permitting process and it meets, and they've followed all of the steps. So there's no, we can't say we just don't like
Just because they
it.
have the permit doesn't mean they're obligated to use it, is that correct?
If they have a permit, they don't have to build it. But this developer has been waiting and has, you know, made it clear, at least to us, that they're pretty serious about moving forward. They wanted to move forward years ago.
So I have a couple questions that, did you have more?
She's not done yet. I don't
Okay.
think.
I'll wait until you're done.
So yes, I'm here representing Eagle. So as far as like the actual construction and the design and the engineering part, I'm not going to speak to that. That's not my role in this project. But I can speak to what Eagle would require, right, for the construction of the pipe. We have already, under the previous route that was mentioned, how it went through Superior Township and was denied. We had already looked at the engineering plans for that and issued several permits to allow for that route. So it's doable, right? The wastewater treatment plant has already accepted the flow. And like I mentioned before, you know, this would be the better alternative, we believe, is to use the existing infrastructure and send the wastewater to a very well-run facility that has an excellent compliance record. I think there was I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
It's not open
No,
forum.
I think there was
Not yet.
there was mention of the leachate from the landfill.
That's the stuff at the bottom that is collected.
So, right, so all the weight in the landfill, there is moisture, it settles, they have to get rid of it, it's pretty nasty. I think the comment was made that it would have more control going to the Yucca plant. So they have what's called an industrial pre-treatment program. So they would have a permit for accepting that waste before it's discharged to the sewer system. It has to meet their local limits for the pollutants that would be present so that it does not cause pass-through or interference at the wastewater treatment plant in Ypsilanti.
We are already taking that industrial pre-treated leachate in our system that goes to Yucca, Ypsilanti.
Right.
Via what pathway?
It's Northville Township Sewer, and it has a 2032 expiration date for renting or leasing that line, apparently.
I don't know if you want, what more you want to hear.
I have one other question, and then the other people up here on the
Sure.
board can talk. Is the permit is site-specific, or can it move anywhere in that 1,400 acres?
So the property that was delineated, right, so I'm not a wetlands expert. The property that was delineated for wetlands, right? So if they build on that property, it is for that site. So they wouldn't be able to take and move it to like an adjacent property that has not already been delineated for wetlands.
So the plant is located in a wetland area. Is that what you're saying?
That was the 301.
301,
permit.
303?
That determination was made when that permit was issued.
All right, so it won't move very far from its
No.
present proposed location.
And how close can homes and other commercial retail space be near this facility?
It would just have to meet local setbacks. There's nothing that's.
There's no,
No.
so it could be right next to it.
Pretty close.
The developer that would want that, that's interesting.
Well, if you go to Florida, you see many of these in manufactured homes, facilities that are relatively close to where
Right,
people
like-
live.
Mobile home parks have on-site wastewater treatment. I mean, not to say that's the same scale, but same concept.
So I have a couple of questions.
Bob Dorshevitz, go ahead.
So in the letter from Phil, the February 25th letter, he talks, the paragraph, third paragraph from the end, he talks about off-ramps during planning and design. So it seems to imply that even if we were to approve the pipeline, they still could get approval of the permit and build the wastewater treatment plant if they wanted to.
Well, I think the off-ramps were intended so that if this project failed, right, or if there was no agreement to move forward with the pipeline, then the developer would still be able to get their NPDES permit.
Yeah, so that's what, I do understand that correctly. So just to underscore that, if we were to approve this pipeline, it doesn't mean with certainty that they're not going to build a wastewater treatment plant anyway, because they could come back and say the pipeline is too expensive. We're going to go with the other option. Because that's one of the phrase in that sentence, when you read it carefully, it says one of the off-ramps is the inability to design an effective alternative, which could mean that they could not, they say it's $50 million and we want to do the wastewater treatment plant because that's only $30 million. They would still have that option, right? So they're going to hold, Eagle's going to hold the permit open indefinitely, and you would not close the permitting process if they came back a year from now and said, we want to go ahead with the treatment plant.
Right.
That's accurate? Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
So the treatment plan is the default, no matter what happens, is what you're
No
saying?
matter what happens, it's the
Right.
default.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the developer, but my understanding and my involvement with this project is the development will be built.
So when you approve the permit, I think it's 800,000 gallons a day.
840.
It's roughly 800. So that naturally creates a cap on the amount of development that could happen, because you can only build so many houses and businesses until you reach that 800,000 capacity. And at that point, are these plants expandable? Could they go back to Eagle? If they built the treatment plant, could they come back to Eagle in 5 years and say, we need to bump that up to 1 million because we're doing more building?
They'd have to go through the process again of the permitting process. If there was an expansion, they wouldn't just be able to declare they need to build more treatment.
But it's theoretically possible that they could.
Theoretically, it would depend on factors like, could the receiving stream handle the additional flow? Could the receiving stream handle the additional loading from the additional pollutant? Could the receiving stream just handle the additional base flow? Right, you can't flood out the downstream Fellows Creek.
So it's a cap, but it's not, it's a cap that could be lifted if they went through the process at some point in the future.
Sure, and they'd have to go through the anti-degradation
Yeah.
again.
Do you know, do you have any idea approximately how many of these, I'll call them a treatment plant in a box there are in Michigan, these small, are there some?
Sure, yes. I can't qualify a number. I only do Southeast Michigan for one.
Maybe, is it more than 25, do you think?
I'm sure. If you consider just even mobile home parks, definitely.
Uh-huh. And then,
There's more than 25 in my district then.
do they tend to be operated by third parties or by the local municipality?
No, they tend to be operated by a third party.
So they hire somebody to run it? So what does Eagle do? My last question is, when Eagle does your analysis, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have a really good understanding of this, what you're doing is you're evaluating whether that water can be safely discharged into the creek at the point at which you're discharging it, but you're not really studying what the downstream impact would be 10 miles downstream or 15 miles or 20 miles downstream, right?
So I'm going to answer that best I can. So they start by setting the effluent limits, right? What the receiving stream, what amount of pollutant the receiving stream.
What is
could-
effluent? What does that mean?
The discharge. The water that goes into
The treated water.
the treated
Okay.
water. That's the effluent. So the
Okay.
discharged water, right, the biologists and the toxicologists do their magic. I'm not either of them. But they determine what the receiving stream, what amount of pollutant that receiving stream, Fellows Creek, could handle, right? So that it wouldn't be injurious to public health or the environment, right? Wouldn't have to meet Michigan's water quality standards. So you start with the effluent limits, right? What the treated water has to meet, and then you pick a technology that would be treatable to that limit. So like,
Okay, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So there's different types of treatment, so I can't say that they'll do, like a membrane package plant or a rotating biological contactor or batch treatment. They get to figure that black box out, but the technology that they choose has to be able to treat the effluent so that it will meet the water quality standards at times of discharge.
So when the effluent comes out of the plant and goes into the stream, not that I would want to, but can I drink it?
No. So two things, like, there's bacteria in all receiving streams, right, to some level, right? And when I say that it would meet water quality standards, right, that's already considered. Like for total body contact, right, during the recreation season, that number is a lot lower than it is during the winter months, right? Because people are recreating, right, from May 1 to November 1, and not so much from November 1 to, April 30th or whatever, right? So you have E. coli levels.
I had, thank you.
Pardon me?
That was all my questions, thank
Okay,
you.
sorry.
You did a good job, thank you.
I have one more question about leachate in the local sewage treatment plant.
Okay.
Can they easily take leachate in a local sewage treatment plant?
No. So
No.
leachate from landfills?
Yes.
Right, is going to require some level of pretreatment.
So they would do so if you had the source, the the landfill pre-treated to a proper level, then you could take it.
So, right, so like the Yucca plant already has an industrial pretreatment program for accepting any sort of industrial waste. So it could be from a plating shop or a auto factory, or, you know, somebody that discharges anything that is not domestic sewage, right? Because wastewater treatment plants are designed only to treat domestic sewage. So if you have a waste stream that is non-domestic, right, then you would be subject to, like for Yucca, their industrial pretreatment program, where they issue a permit, which is established by local limits, where they know their flow to their plant, and they can calculate how much of a pollutant can be discharged to the sewer, so that there would be a factor of dilution, obviously, and Yucca is a large facility, where you'd have dilution with the 25 million gallons a day that Yucca receives, right? So that's factored into a local limit. Whereas a smaller facility, like on a local level, they might have a sewer use ordinance that would have to establish a limit by which they would have to meet, the non-domestic discharger would have to meet a limit before it could discharge.
So,
An ordinance?
Yeah, we do. We have an industrial pretreatment ordinance in Plymouth Township, and in this case, if the landfill, which is using the Northville pipeline, they are under the management of Northville and Watua for their industrial pretreatment. They pay for that on a monthly basis. They get a billing for that industrial pretreatment. There's a charge. So factories in Plymouth Township, for example, get a monthly charge based on their size and what they're dumping into the sewer, and there's a requirement for the pretreatment. Like, for example, if they have cutting oil that's getting into the system, they have to take that out. And other, if they have chromium, if they're doing a plating operation, they have to take that out as much as possible, so.
All of that is correct.
All right, go ahead.
To that point, Mr. Supervisor, we had a plating company that was just shut down because.
On Joy Road.
On Joy Road. So they do have regulations on that. Do you handle landfills also?
I only do wastewater.
No, but does Eagle?
Oh, absolutely.
Eagle
Yes.
handles landfill.
Our materials management division.
So if this pipe gets put in, nothing would prevent them from running a pipe further into Northville and expanding the dump, making it twice the size, or putting another dump right on the border of another community like they've done and want to do here.
Can you say that again?
Okay, you get this pipeline in, they've already have some pipe going, but they could expand it into Salem Township, the one that's there now, and make the dump even bigger.
Build it farther north, build a lead line that
Further
would
north.
then attach to this interceptor that is proposed to go to Yucca through Canton and Van Buren.
The landfill?
Yeah, the landfill would build a lead line.
Oh, I see what you're.
And connect, but in the end, it's going to Yucca just like it is
I know.
now through Watua.
But what I'm saying though is this might be an opportunity for them to expand the landfill with greater capacity.
No.
Why not? Please explain that.
In Wayne County, they have landfill rule, right? So Wayne County.
This is not Wayne County.
Right.
Washtenaw.
It's Washington.
The
I'm
landfill
thinking-
is in Washtenaw, but
Sure,
the
yeah, I'm
sewer
thinking-
system is in Wayne County.
Sure, I'm in Plymouth Township, so that's Wayne County, so, sorry. I can't answer that question.
Okay, all right.
But landfills have to be permitted.
Well,
They have
Well,
to,
giving permits is what I mean. That's your business, is you apparently give permits. So I understand. I just think it's a little bit interesting is that just last year they said, we can't have tap water running over little children, running into a stream where they'll allow industrial waste, feces, urine, gray water going into, I think it's just funny how they won't allow one thing, but they would certainly allow thousands and hundreds of thousands of gallons to go into to a creek. It's just interesting, I think.
Let's back up on that a little bit. The plant at Yucca, Ypsilanti, is a tertiary plant, correct?
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
And what would be the equivalent of this local wastewater treatment facility if it was ever built in Salem Township? What would be the city of Detroit, their system, or Gliwa, their system allegedly is a secondary, or it's only treat twice?
So any wastewater treatment facility has to provide biological treatment, which is secondary treatment. So like primary treatment is removal of organics and like heavy solids, inorganic solids. And then for secondary treatment, all wastewater treatment facilities have to provide secondary treatment, which is biological activity, which is what kills, which is what eats the microorganisms, the fecal matter, right? And then it's chlorinated to kill all the bacteria. And then it's disinfected with the chlorine, and then it's dechlorinated, because you can't add chlorine right at the level to kill bacteria and then discharge it to waters of the state, because then you would kill the fish. So that's why they dechlorinate it, so that when it's
So a tertiary plant does what other operation?
Tertiary plant is different. So in a conventional treatment plant, you'll have your headworks, which is your screening and your grit removal, which gets rid of like the big objects, like your leaves and sticks and large
And
debris.
they dry that out and make it into sludge, right?
That's in part that waste goes to a landfill. The part that is biosolids is different. That's a different animal.
The screening is wipes, tampons, sticks.
It's garbage.
Right.
It's
So it
garbage.
goes to a conventional landfill.
Yes. And then it will go into, from the screening process and the grit removal, it takes out the inorganic, larger, like sand and settable solids, goes into a primary clarification where they slow the velocity down, they skim it, get rid of like the oils on top. The settling process takes out like the organic material. Then it'll go through, in a conventional wastewater treatment plant, some aeration to help the bugs live, right, to thrive. And then it goes through secondary treatment, where that's like the polishing. And then for most wastewater treatment plants, then it's chlorinated and dechlorinated and discharged. For some wastewater treatment plants that discharge to a sensitive receiving stream or a cold water receiving stream, or that need advanced wastewater treatment, that's where you get tertiary treatment, which is in addition to the secondary treatment. After the biological, it goes through a sand filter and then it's chlorinated and discharged.
So this plant would be a secondary?
All domestic sewage treatment plants are required to have secondary treatment.
Okay.
It's
So
just
the
how
water
do they
will be-
provide it?
The water will be cleaner coming from YCUA and IPSI versus the Salem proposed wastewater treatment plant?
Well,
The discharge water.
so all discharges have to meet water quality standards. So I'm not
Minimum.
gonna, at a minimum. I'm not going to stretch the truth, right? I'm just being transparent that Yucca has tertiary treatment because of where it discharges to, which requires that additional polishing. But all discharges to waters of the state have to meet our water quality standards. They have to be protective of public health and the environment.
And
So-
then how do they, if these things are built in residential areas, how do they control for odors?
So that's a good question. Some facilities have odor control, have an air scrubber. That's really the only way to treat for odors.
Eagle doesn't get involved in that?
Oh, we do. That's a consideration in a wastewater treatment plant.
Watua at Joy Road and Haggerty has a scrubber system
Yes.
to reduce the odors
Right.
at that location for the collection basin.
Sure, and they also have incinerators, which absolutely require odor control.
All right, any more questions here on this end? Sandy or John, Stewart?
I have comments.
Do we want to do that? We're going to deliberate afterwards, or do you want to do the comments now? Because we have the
Is
senator.
there someone
and
else who's going to speak?
Representative and the senator will speak for a minute, but
Allow that, and then I will,
then you want to speak?
yes.
All right. Well, are you going to be staying here for a little while, or are you exiting?
I can do what you want.
It would be great if you stay for a while.
Sure.
Because questions may come up.
Sure, I can stay.
We could,
Thank you. We really appreciate having Eagle be able to come here on short notice, so.
Senator, speak loud.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me a few minutes to speak, and Representative Morgan is still here, and he'll come up too. You can come up. I'm not only going to talk for a minute. But I just want to thank them and appreciate the opportunity to speak and be a part of this conversation. I was obviously there, helped coordinate the hearing that we did last year and the large number of people that came to that. Hopefully some of you folks were there. What we saw at the time were hundreds of photos, and we had many sent to us in advance, of what happens in Fellows Creek when there's a heavy rain and the water comes way up the backyards. So if you add a heavy rain to 840 extra thousand gallons of water, that's our concern, is to make sure that we are focusing on the residents that live along Fellows Creek, all the way through Plymouth Township, all the way through Canton Township, and what happens when the water gets high. And we just had a meeting yesterday in a different location on a slightly different topic, and our representative was there also. Thank you again. But talking about the changes in the weather and the changes in the intensity of our storms. So what we're seeing more and more is rainfall that has a bigger impact because it's heavier and faster and all at once. And smaller streams like Fellows Creek would struggle, the residents struggle with the high water coming up in their yards already. So by adding 840,000 gallons every day, as much as it passes the current tests of Eagle, I don't know that it passes the test for the kind of storms that we see now, the 400 or 500 year storms that we've had in the last 2 years. So we need to keep those factors in mind as you make this decision about whether you want to send that treated water down Fellows Creek. There's a quality of water issue, of course, but there's also the fact that it's a lot of water running along the backyards of our people in Plymouth Township. So I just wanted to list that as one of our residents' concerns, because we had so many people bring that to us when this issue first came up, and it hasn't gone away. So even though it passes the test, it's precarious.
So are you suggesting one or the over the other? Are you suggesting the avoidance of the wastewater treatment plant so that we could do this, what is proposed for us tonight? Are you suggesting that that's a better option than the wastewater treatment
So
plant?
I am not a water engineer.
Right, I understand.
Right. So my perspective is always going to be the people who live here.
Right.
And the impact on them.
Right.
And so I'm worried about what happens to their property, their backyards, when there's too much water in that creek.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. My name is Jason Morgan, and I represent the westernmost part of Plymouth Township, along with the westernmost part of Northville Township, and then I go down to Ann Arbor and up to South Lyon. But I represent essentially, and also Salem Township. So really the area we're talking about very directly here. And just wanted to share a couple of comments. One, thank you very, very much to our representative from Eagle for coming tonight and answering questions and being very transparent and straightforward with us. One of our biggest jobs as legislators is making sure that folks have the access to information and the full information they can have as you're making local decisions. Frankly, I generally don't want to be anywhere involved in local decision-making when it's not my decision as a legislator. I make plenty of decisions in a day. But we wanted to make sure that you have all the information you need to make the decision that's before you tonight and going forward as we deal with this issue that's ongoing. So a couple of comments. One, this is very much the Township Board's decision. What we wanted to do is make sure you have options. It does seem, based on the information that Eagle has shared, they've been more transparent and direct with us than I've ever seen the department be. And that is something that we have certainly encouraged and appreciated from the department's leadership and from the representatives to make very clear that, I guess I would say, it seems like there are a couple options before us. One, the route that generally seems like a wastewater treatment plant, a sewage plant being approved right on the border with Plymouth Township over in Salem Township. The other option being the pipeline route. I know this community has fought very hard for many years to avoid having a pipeline and to prevent the development from happening in its entirety. I think the supervisor gave a phenomenal explanation of the history of this that I know has been really tough. I don't necessarily want to advocate for this development by any means, nor a specific option. But I do feel compelled to say that from my understanding and what I've heard over the last several months and couple of years, and through my conversations with the department, that they are fulfilling their obligation here with what they're doing. They're being very clear with us and telling us essentially, if we don't have an alternative to a sewage treatment plant, that is likely the option that is going to be in front of us. So for me, I just care about the residents and make sure you have full information. I guess I'll be maybe a little more direct. I think that there is an option that's less bad than the other. I think the pipeline is probably the least bad option in having to deal with the situation that I wish we weren't having to deal with in its entirety. But that is ultimately your decision as local leaders, and our job is to support you and help wherever we can and provide as much information as possible. So that's what we're here tonight to do. We care very much about the community and the folks impacted. I'm sorry that we're having to deal with this issue, but we're in this together. We want to help and be supportive in any and every way that we can. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. And again, thank you to Eagle for answering questions very thoroughly and being here with us tonight.
Thank you. So let's get a process now. You want to talk right now? We will deliberate afterwards, but I'll let you speak now, and then we'll hear from the residents that want to speak. So think about what your thoughts are while we're getting ready here.
One time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start by saying that I want to be perfectly clear with everyone. I do not support the wastewater treatment plant under any circumstance. And I think realistically, I respect my fellow board members, I respect our citizens and our residents. Everyone sitting on this board is looking for the best possible solution. That includes Eagle, that includes our representatives. And I think that we all need to work together to make that happen. Now, I arrive at this picture much later than everyone else because I just came on the board in November. And I have read the newspaper and I have heard all of the hyperbole about everything, about having the plant, not having the plant, who wants this, who wants that. I want, and I know what my fellow board members want, is what is best for our residents, and that is our primary importance. I believe that the development of Salem Township's Urban Services District has really given us 4 options. And I'm going to talk about those briefly. One of them clearly is the wastewater treatment plant. The other one is the option that is before us tonight. When I look at all the paperwork and all the language, being a novice to this, I'm impacted immediately by language that says that the trees impacted by the proposed sewer line will be replaced by Salem Township as part of the project cost. I'm talking about very ambiguous statements. It says that an operations and maintenance plan and schedule for the sewer through Plymouth Township will be provided and agreed to by Plymouth Township, and all costs for that operations and maintenance plan will be the responsibility of Salem Township. Do we have input into what that operations and maintenance plan is going to be, or do we not? It doesn't address it. It says consent is contingent upon Plymouth Township's approval of the operations and maintenance plan and schedule, again, with or without our input. Treasurer Dorashevitz, we've talked about this a little bit, and he made some suggestions that have not been included in any of our efforts or talk about this, and I want to spell them out for you. There is no provision for a substantial bond to ensure that everything is put back into the equal level or better than it is today once this is done. There is no provision that protects us from all of the cost in perpetuity, including damages incurred during or after construction or during any changes that take place. The report indicates either horizontal drilling or open cut construction. Which will it be? We do not know. The report indicates the use of either a 12-inch pipe, which could support 2,000 to 4,000 homes, or an 18-inch pipe, which could support between 15 and 20,000 homes. Which one is it going to be? Taking a vote tonight, we do not have these answers. Option 3 that we have not considered, and it has been mentioned and it has been basically discounted until no, we're not going to do that, but I'm going to bring it up. It's a 425 agreement. And the sole purpose of a 425 agreement, which is a public act, is to allow a conditional land use agreement, providing flexibility for all the municipalities involved in land negotiations for a reason just like this. Use of a 425 agreement would allow for terms agreed by each municipality to enter into a long-term agreement that would address these issues and allow Plymouth Township to have a say in and to negate any liability issues that may come about as a result of this proposed resolution before the board tonight. I find it suspicious, and I'm not assigning any blame or I'm not questioning anyone's integrity. I find it interesting and concerning as a new board member who has not been part of the previous years of exposure, consideration, and hyperbole regarding this issue, that we have never explored the implementation of a 425 agreement. I'm also, it was mentioned tonight, the fourth option, which would be to hook into the Western Township Utilities Association. And each one of these options provides some negative impact and some positive. But no one has explained to me, although we talked briefly tonight about capacity issues, why we're not looking at tying into Watua. And admittedly, that would require approval from each of the participating communities, but we've not talked about it. So why have we as a board not engaged the services of legal counsel that is well-versed in intergovernmental agreements? Why have we not engaged an engineer, I'm talking what has brought us to this point, who is qualified to review the proposed plan to ensure the protection of Plymouth Township now and in perpetuity regarding this proposal? We don't actually have an Eagle study before us. We have something that addresses parts of the proposed operation, a general recommendation that they prefer the hook-in with the underground pipe as opposed to the wastewater treatment plant for obvious reasons. But Eagle works for all of us, and Eagle is interested in serving the needs of both communities. And for me, that means that we don't want to pit one community against another. We want to work together to choose the very best option for all of us. As was previously mentioned, even if we do this underground pipe, there's no guarantee that there isn't going to be a wastewater treatment plant. So I would like to formally request that Eagle provide us as a board and the residents some reasonable time, 60 to 90 days, to explore all of the options and the potential for a direct hookup to Wautua before granting a permit to allow the development of the wastewater treatment plant. We have before us tonight a resolution that is not written by us, but it talks about making, by voting for the resolution, we're saying we don't want the wastewater treatment plant, but we're also saying, but let's go ahead with the burying of the pipe and moving forward with this. I would like to propose that we make it two separate resolutions so that you, the public, can be aware that everyone sitting up here opposes a wastewater treatment plant. I want everyone to understand our interest is your interest. So I would like to kind of change the resolution to talk about, to commit by vote that I'm opposed to the construction and creation of a wastewater treatment plant, because I want you all to be clear on that. And that I want to be sure that we also have a motion to actively engage and participate in planned study sessions, legal counsel, and professional engineering consultation as we aggressively explore and pursue the options of a 425 agreement and or a direct hookup with Wautua with other member townships to serve the best interests for all of our residents. We are here working for you, representing you, and I certainly know I am not equipped to make a decision on this without understanding all of the issues that I brought before you. Thank you.
Well done.
I can address one of your concerns.
Come to the podium, please.
Yes. Wautua, right? We engaged Wautua before we started any permitting of the first route. That was our first look at this project of like, let's explore that. So you don't have to take my word for it, and I don't think you should, but you can talk to Aaron Sprague, who is the director, and he will give you all of the reasons why Wautua cannot accept that flow.
And I appreciate that, and it's a very good point, but it's a point that has not been made for us as a board. Maybe some people, but not me. So my issue is there's so much that I don't know, and there's so much that we all need. We can't limit ourselves to one of two options. There are other options, and we need to consider those and be responsive to the needs of our residents. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
I just wanted to let you know that we did engage with Wautua early on.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's
So
why
what about-
the Wautua alternative was investigated, not to the amount that to do it properly would cost about $200,000, and it will take many months.
To do a study.
To do a study, an engineering study, Wautua facilities would be directly affected in all areas, probably would require another retention basin or an expansion of the retention basin for the wet weather. When it rains is the problem for Wautua. When it's dry, Wautua can handle this. But what you're opening up with Wautua is something that's already been passed almost 10 years ago, and now it's even more complex. But you're asking us to authorize a study and hire legal counsel. So we'll have to get an estimate of that and how, but it's going to take many months.
And I understand that, but the bottom line is my priority as your representative is that we are protected. I have no problem with working with Salem Township. I have no problem with coming up with a solution. Everything that I'm looking at is geared towards the protection of Salem Township in the wastewater treatment plant. This is not a developer versus a municipality issue, but we have got to come to the table and make sure that we fully understand the ins and outs of the decisions that we make. And if that takes time, and I know that's an issue because I know that the developer wants to move forward, but I think we need to know that Eagle also, in working with us, understands our concerns and our need for more information before we make a decision. And that's my point.
So I think that we have to be realistic, and if this is a fait accompli, I don't think anybody would choose the sewer plant in a box over a pipeline that's underground. I mean, that's, if it's a fait accompli, and we have to choose one over the other. But what I would like to frame is that Salem Township, providing the pipeline to Salem Township has a value to them. And we shouldn't just give that away. We've talked about an opportunity to negotiate a benefit to the community. I'd like to hear from Kevin what our boundaries are on that. And I know Salem Township has expressed frustration with their attempts to work with this board before, but this is a different board and it's a new board. And I think we could send a message that if we postpone this for like 90 days and sat down with the stakeholders, perhaps we could get some community benefit out of it. That would be a fair trade-off for giving away this value.
So we have two avenues that you want to explore. You want to explore Wetua, which is a massive study, and you want to explore a community benefit from Salem Township.
Yeah, I want to bring them to the table and see what.
So you want to negotiate?
Yeah, I want to negotiate.
All right.
In good faith.
What is
and with the
legal
intent
is what
of-
you've asked.
Yeah.
For negotiations, what can Plymouth Township ask for from Salem Township in exchange for going through the road right away on Ann Arbor Road, Joy Road?
Those are very fact-specific questions. With respect to the pipeline, under Michigan law, MCL 247.183 subsection 1 provides that if a utility wants to run a pipe through the township board has to give consent to that. The statute is silent with respect to consideration for giving such permission. One way to accomplish a community benefit, monetary community benefit, would be with a 425 agreement. However, a 425 agreement is just that, it's an agreement. Both townships would have to agree to it. If one party, such as Salem Township, does not want to agree with it, there's not going to be a 425 agreement.
Right.
With respect to Wetua, as Trustee Groth pointed out, the bylaws of Wetua require unanimous consent of all members of the communities, which would be Northville Township, Canton Township, and Plymouth Township. All must agree to let in a non-constituent member into Wetua. And along with that, there would have to come some consideration because that system is worth a lot of money. The other possible problem with Wetua is that the prior administration enacted an ordinance that required a supermajority of the board to approve of the township supervisor, who is the township's representative in Wetua, to agree to that. So the township supervisor cannot do that unilaterally. It would have to be a directive of a supermajority of 5 trustee members for the township to do that. So there's, like, as you indicated, there's positives and there's negatives to each approach. And
10 years ago.
unfortunately, it seems like with the fact that the Eagle has granted the permit for the wastewater plant, the township of Charter Township of Plymouth doesn't hold a lot of leverage.
Say
Now,
one more time, start from the beginning.
Okay, because Eagle has granted the wastewater plant permit.
They haven't yet.
They haven't granted.
But if they do, we don't have a lot of leverage.
If they do grant that, then the township loses a lot of leverage.
Right,
So that's why I'm asking them to give us a little bit of time.
right. You know, sorry, go ahead, John, if you want to say something.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ms. Verona, as representing Eagle, do you have the authority to give us some time? I telephoned your director. He picked up the phone. He's in Chicago. Phil Argeroff. Phil said he's going to be here May 27th.
Yes.
2 weeks from tonight. He says he's also going to camp. He hopes to answer all questions, get all terms on the table in the next 14 days. So we're down to a question of timing. And do we have, I mean, obviously we have 14 days. Because Phil Argeroff is coming here May 27th. I don't like to repeat, and a word to the wise is sufficient. We've got to start running these meetings where if we say something once, that's it. I have no time. Nobody's got time for this stuff. So, do you have the authority? I mean, we're talking 90 days or we're talking at least 14 days. So where's the fire?
Well, the developer has approached our director
I
as well
appreciate that.
about getting the permit.
I appreciate that.
They've gone through all of the steps.
Okay.
And
Well, and
they could be granted.
one of the most respected developers in this township, Ron Cook, sent me an email and he said, John, hold your horses. We got to get some under terms here. So I would appreciate somebody telling me that Ron Cook says, and Ron Cook has a 40-year reputation in this township, and he, in plain language, he does not screw people. He is a very honorable developer, and he does only smaller projects than this. So we have at least 14 days.
But I'd like to know if we can get more.
Well, and Trustee Groth would like to know if we could get more. I mean, maybe we want to set a date certain, August 1st.
So I think in the letter that Phil sent that had those off-ramps, that had some dates in there, I think that were considered, so there's a limited amount of grant money left. It has to be spent by a date certain so that or else it goes away.
So I
I'm
guess-
not involved in any of that, and I don't really care about any of that.
I guess the question is, this board in the past has been a firm no, but how can we get to yes if we have some time to sit down and Salem Township is properly motivated to sit down and discuss with us what we might, how we might find a solution that benefits both of us. Because what I'm trying to do is figure out a way that we can get from no to yes on this. And we could use Eagle's help in delaying the imminence of that.
Yeah, I
issue of
think
that
throughout the
permit.
process, we've been willing to engage in any meetings.
As long as we're talking, they won't issue the permit.
As long as there's progress made. And, to be honest, I texted Phil because, he's the one that's going to have to help out with, whatever happens with this permit, right? It's going to be, we're ready to issue it. It's being held. Phil has worked with everyone here, all the communities. We even talked with Van Buren Township and Ypsilanti Township, right? So there's no discussion is off the table. The dates were put in the letter, I think, to keep the progress moving, right? So I am not going to say X number of days right here, right? I mean, that's something that is not my decision to make, but there will be, discussions and further information coming back. I'm sure that the other parties, right, would like to probably agree to the same terms. So whatever that entails, I mean.
Well, Mr. Supervisor, we have a state senator and we have a rep, our state rep here, and then also Colazar. They could certainly contact Eagle and say, we need a little postponement on this, just long enough for everyone to get a good grasp on this so that we feel comfortable in making a decision that's going to be, that's going to be in the benefit of everyone.
Well, I think instead of forcing us to make a decision tonight, if we postpone it and Salem Township says, too bad for you, we're not having a conversation, then we at least have something that we can go on, and then we can take a vote at that point as to which direction we're gonna go in. But I think we should encourage them to try to sit down and talk with us and work together as neighbors. And that's where we could use the help of our colleagues, our other colleagues, is
Sure,
to
I mean,
encourage that.
We've tried to have these types of meetings and set these up previously, so, I mean, we're willing to commit to working on a solution, right? I mean, I think.
Yeah,
we've
let's
made our-
try to find a win-win solution, or a real good solution is when nobody's happy, then you've got a good compromise.
So,
All right, well, I think we're gonna need to see that happening to start. So
Right.
what I will do tomorrow is talk to folks and see if there's a way to give you an extension in writing. In the meantime, there isn't very much time right now, and so make some calls.
We need to
Let's
work
get
on it
moving.
now.
And we will see what we can do in Lansing to give you more time.
to make it clear, Watua connection will not happen
Correct.
in a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's many months. So that idea is substantially discounted. We're going to work on negotiations, and I'm going to appoint Bob Dorshevitz and Sandy Groth with me to be the negotiators with Salem Township. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Do you want to do it? Okay, so that part is done, but I don't want to put a lot of hope in Watua. That is a huge project, huge, and it has been plowed up in 2015. Work was done, and it was rejected by Salem Township in pursuit of the direct pipeline. And that's how they developed the Superior line that then went to court.
And I understand all of that, but I just think that we need to work together and ensure our residents that we're not just jumping at a conclusion, we are attempting to find the best solution for everyone involved.
Yeah, and that's been going on for 10 years, and the last year, there was 700 people saying they didn't want it. We also intend to hear what you have to say today. We're not doing anything yet till we hear what you say, again. But I will discount the Watua idea as being a massive undertaking that has been already studied, not in the kind of detail that would cost $200,000, but it's been studied. And now things have changed because we built more retention basins. At the time, 10 years ago, was when we were adding. Yet that would have been the time, if you were going to do it, would be adding at that time when we were doing the expansion of the Lower Rouge facility at Haggerty and Michigan Avenue. So, all right, so we got the group. I will give you this, which is something that Aaron Sprague wrote over a year ago.
I appreciate that.
And then now, do we have any more, well, we can come back and deliberate again here. Let's hear what anybody, if anybody has some new ideas that are succinct and clear.
I do want to recognize the representative of Gary Whitaker, supervisor of Salem Township. He is here. He can see we're proceeding in good faith to answer questions. And in a couple of months, if some people are unsatisfiable, so be it. Let's go onward and forward.
I don't
But
think it
two
will be
weeks
a
from
couple,
tonight,
it won't be
let
a
me
couple
finish.
of months.
2 weeks from tonight, we're going to hear from Director Phil Argyroff.
Well, maybe it's premature to bring him in. What is the purpose of bringing him in?
Bringing who in?
The director.
So Director of Eagle.
Oh, he's already scheduled. And he's already scheduled to come here in 2 weeks. And I persuaded him to come here first before Canton Township. So he'll be here at 6 o'clock.
What's his objective? Is he here to answer
I
questions?
can't speak for him, but he's here to answer any questions, any reasonable questions. If you're making an unreasonable question, then that is seriously stupid.
Why would I make an unreasonable question?
All right, the guy's going to be in town. We're going to take advantage of it on May 27th.
All right.
Hopefully by then, we will have a closed negotiation. We will have an agreement with Salem Township?
In 2 weeks?
Well, then,
I don't think so.
well, how long do you want to take?
Well, let's move on it and not talk about it. Let's just do that. Let's get it scheduled, like right away, and start
All right.
talking. The board needs to understand, the residents need to be able to understand what we're working towards and what we're attempting to do.
Sure.
And
So
if-
I just say, let's schedule it, like, let's do a study session next week if you want to start there.
What are you gonna?
I don't wanna do a
No, we don't want a
study
study session. We want a negotiation with Salem.
Yes, but I don't want to negotiate with Salem until I don't understand all of this. That's what I'm looking
Well,
for.
You gotta learn it.
I'm
There-
trying,
But
clearly.
you're on the negotiating team. We're ready. And we're gonna start this week, if Salem Township wants to hear us. You heard what Salem Township said to you last week.
I heard what they
Okay,
said, and
so-
they need to hear what we have to say.
Great. All right.
So we're not voting on this, and you're going to give us a
Well-
break.
Okay, hold on. Do we want a bathroom break?
Sure.
Well, okay.
My cousin's a urologist,
All right.
okay?
Bathroom break for 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, call to order. Looks like, see, we lost everybody, John. But anyway,
Okay, next issue.
no, what? Call to order. Bob? All right, now we're going to open it up to public comments. Limit it to be succinct, be clear, and then we'll incorporate some of these ideas, if they're good, into the negotiations with Salem Township. Who's first?
Do you have a question, sir?
Well, you got, then you can get over there and line up.
You have to sign your name.
Don Schnettler, Plymouth Township resident. 2016, Mark, Bob, Chuck, we all ran. And Sandy, you were involved. So that's 4. When we ran, it was to keep Salem from getting the sewer and the water line. The water line now comes from Canton, and the sewer, if it goes through to Yucca. So right now, everything we ran on isn't being done. So stuff on the internet is a lie, and if you guys go down the road of saying that you don't want to do this, you're going to be stuck with a waste treatment plant. There's no way out of it. And like he said, we're not going to have much ability to do anything if you don't accept this. The other thing is, I know somebody that lives on Fellows Creek. Do you remember when Plymouth got the flood and everybody's seen the video with the water running through it, through the stores?
What year and month was this?
Last month.
Oh, last month.
Yeah, when it's going through the front doors of a lot of the parking garages.
Yeah, that's Tonquish Creek. That's not Fellows, but it's
Well, no.
an example.
Okay, but the creek that this guy lived on, it was up to the rim and was about to go to his house. If there's 800,000 gallons a day going through it with that kind of a rain, you can count on lawsuits because of people losing their homes from flood. And they'll be stuck with getting flood insurance also. Is this going through Canton?
Pardon?
Isn't this on the other side, Joy Road?
Yes, the pipe is almost all,
So
the
why
right
do
of
we
way is
have to be
officially
involved
Plymouth
in it at all?
Township. But it's MDOT right of way and Wayne County right of way. MDOT on Ann Arbor Road, and on Joy Road, it's Wayne County. And it's on the south side of the road, which is the border of Canton and
Right.
Plymouth Township. Almost no one is affected by the excavation.
They just got done putting fire hydrants down there.
Well, that's on the
Canton
north side of
side.
the road. Oh, yes, you're right,
The
they
south
added
side.
those. Did they
So
add a
why
water
does-
line?
Why are we involved if it's on the south side?
It has to touch Plymouth Township to get there. So
Is
it's
it all the
very
way down Joy
close.
Road?
It's-
Is it Plymouth Township?
It's on the margin, right on the border, so it's part of our,
There's a mile and a half that's in Plymouth Township.
we can put the map up again. But it doesn't show the detail of where the easement is. It's more of a, can you zoom that in at all? Right there at the top, the blue, where it says lift station, that's the beginning. Let's look at that. Okay, so that's Ann Arbor Road going east, and then continues east, and see where you would go northeast for Joy, excuse me, what? Northeast that's Ann Arbor, what is that? That's Joy. Help me out there. Yeah.
But the whole time it hits Joy Road is usually
Well,
Canton.
Ann Arbor Road at Napier, if you go east, and then keep to the right, going south, is Joy Road.
This says Plymouth Road, that's not right, that's Joy Road, isn't it? No.
It's a mile and a half east on
That's
Ann
what we would
Arbor
call
/
Ann
Joy.
Arbor Road. That's what we would call Ann Arbor Road.
Yeah.
And see where Joy intersects. Right there is the county line, right where you have
Right.
that.
That's why you tapped in for water.
Yeah.
This is Ann Arbor here.
Yes, so that's the county line, right? That up and down green is the county line, Napier.
Yeah.
So how much area is actually being used in Plymouth Township?
Very little, but it's for 1.5 miles along the edge of where Canton and Plymouth Townships meet.
So do they have to get both just because of that?
Yes, but Canton Township has about 6 miles of pipe running along Ridge Road. So that's why they are really involved. It turns south on Ridge Road there. That's Canton at that corner, where it makes the 90-degree going south, the blue line. That's all Canton.
Why is it they didn't use Napier on Canton side?
Because there's too many, there's water lines, 48-inch water lines there, and they don't like the idea of tearing that up and risking disturbing those water lines. The fresh water for Great Lakes Water Authority run down Napier.
And with your negotiations, you may want to go with a bigger pipe so we don't get a waste treatment plant. When I was in Washtenaw County, as a building official, we had 6 waste treatment plants under our jurisdiction as far as building department. 2 were trailer parks. Saline Township has one for trailer parks. Saline City has one. Dexter City has one. Another subdivision in Scioto with another trailer park have 2. So having another waste treatment plant in Washtenaw County is not a big deal. And Drains already went through and pretty much approved this 3 years ago before I retired.
Who approved it?
The Drain Commission.
Drain Commission.
They're on. They were pretty much almost through plan review with this.
All right. Wrap up. You're set?
I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, can we start the clock?
Hi, Bill Eggs, Precinct 8, Hidden Creek. All I wanted to suggest here is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? And I'm totally against the wastewater treatment plant A, okay? So sewer is a better option, but man, when you take a look at this map, right, and you look at the curves in the road, right, every curve and bend in a pipe is restriction. Restriction creates friction. Friction creates a pressure loss. So it forces you to use more energy if you're using electricity to push the poop, okay? Or more diesel fuel if it's being run with a diesel fuel, okay? I don't know what the mechanism is to push the sewer line. And if you take a look at the distance between Napier, right, versus Ridge, where the county line is, right, the perfect solution that avoids Superior Township is right down the center line of that road, right? It has less restriction, there's 3 less bends. I only wanted to point that out because it will cost less to not come all the way east, right, into Ridge Road and then go all the way back. So shortest distance is 2 points, less restriction, right? That should be consistent with the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan, which is led by Kara Cook of the state of Michigan. She's the chief climate and energy strategist, as well as Eagles director, Mr. Roos, our senator and rep who are here. And lastly, we've got our Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, right? She's one of the best fighters at laying lawsuits, right? She laid 8 against Trump and 7 America's briefs, unfortunately. I'd love to get her take on this, just to have one more set of fresh eyes, because we have not run out of time. The clock has not struck 12 with respect to Eagle and the permit. But, you know, my request is just look at going straight. It's less restriction, it's less cost, it's less loss, and it's less emissions to the atmosphere. That's all.
All right, thanks.
Yes, my name is Jack Smiley. I'm a resident of Superior Township, and we had to sue to stop this line from going through our township. So I urge you to take due care and caution in making your decision. It's been presented that there's only 2 options, but I believe there's a better way. Unfortunately, the state has caused this problem by making an inappropriate grant of $35 million, which is to benefit a private developer at the expense of the public. And that's the real problem here. So I urge you not to promote anything that would foster this development. Instead of spending tens of millions of dollars to build a sewer plant or to build a sewer pipe, that money should be used to buy up most of the land in the urban service district. People would welcome that. So I think we need to urge our state officials to allow the grant to expire and not extend it again, and use that money for protecting most of that land in the urban service district. The person from Eagle mentioned we need to use existing infrastructure, and I very much agree. We have thousands of acres already in the sewer areas that needs to be redeveloped. We should not be promoting urban sprawl. In Superior Township, we have bought and protected over 3,200 acres of land, and protecting this area would be very doable. The land along Napier Road would be a perfect state park, I mean, a perfect public park. I can see Washington County contributing money towards it, the state could contribute, and perhaps Plymouth Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to submit this. Don't worry, they all got a copy of it already. All the trustees. Richard Beers, I live in Country Club Village. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me get down here, sorry. I live in Country Club Village, name is Richard Beers, and thank you for taking, let me speak my mind. I implore you to vote against this resolution as is written right now. This is a open-ended, unfunded liability that you are signing up for as the township. I do not think this is a good idea, and I'm opposing the development in general because of the fact of everything that's been brought up the last 20 years. All the boards have been unified over the time against this development. This even goes back to the JCI days when they wanted to build a tech center over there. So I would expect the same behavior out of this board as previous boards to oppose this development. So transparency is a concern here. I would also urge, as Trustee Grohl mentioned, you guys need to talk to your constituents. Come out and talk to the HOAs, come out and talk to the people. Did anyone talk to the people along Joy Road or Ridge Road? What they feel about that, being on those beautiful roads with those beautiful trees, what their input is on this? I would hope you guys go ahead and check out with the constituents. All right, getting back to the 14 million that's left, I didn't know what the number was. Hey, once you guys get a feather in your cap, say no to this, and guess what? You get to save the taxpayers some money. How about that? A politician that can save taxpayers some money. That's a nice feather to have in your cap. So the other issue that I have is the incomplete plans. Why would anybody vote for the stuff, a memorandum? The final engineering study has not been done. We don't know what is going to get placed when, and the cost. They don't have a cost in there. And there's not buy-in from the community. And also I would mention, with respect to the buy-in from the community, no one has mentioned any benefit downstream from this development for anybody from the citizens of Wayne County. And why would we approve something like this to treat the citizens of Canton worse? The one thing that's not mentioned is the stormwater runoff. It's one thing with 840,000 gallons of the sewage, but the stormwater runoff from the impervious concrete over there, that's going to be a huge amount of water being dumped. We've had flooding 2 years ago, a massive flood. Lo and behold, you add that in there, how are you supposed to stop that? So I don't believe there ever will be a sewage treatment plant over there because he doesn't want to build it in the middle of the development. But that's my opinion. So that's the concerns. Some members of the board have received donations from Red, White, and Blue PAC. I put that in there. I will leave their names undone. I won't say it publicly, but the thing is, I would hope that does not influence their decision. It's bad optics, though. And in the end, quote, giving away taxpayer money to fund urban sprawl and create one-time jobs is not good policy, unquote. That came from my favorite trustee back in 2019. Guess who that was?
Me.
There you go. Follow it, gentlemen. Thank you. And ladies. Thank you.
Tell me about the Red, White, and Blue PAC. What is it?
That's the PAC that Shoshack has contributed money to, that you took $1,500 from back in October last year.
Not true. Not true.
Okay, I can show you the documentation.
Oh, okay, that person. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, yeah.
Everybody's guilty of something, right? Hey, good evening. My name is Richard Burse. I'm a resident.
Would you spell your last name?
B as in boy, U as in Union, R as in Robert, S as in Sam, E as in Edward. I reside at 10478 North Territorial Road in Salem Township. I was the project manager, basically the assistant to the supervisor Whitaker in Salem Township up until around 2 weeks ago when we had differences of opinions about being more transparent with you guys. Bringing Eagle here, which I made that happen. People said that wouldn't happen. Jason Morgan, state rep, Rosemary, senator. I mean, people are here to help you guys, right?
Thank you.
So here's what I really want to tell you guys. There's a very good chance that they will issue. I know that there's a stay and they're talking about it to you guys. But there's also a very good chance that if you guys don't vote or you vote no tonight,
that they will probably hand off that permit to that developer. I don't care what anybody here said tonight. I worked over in that township a long time. What I'd like to propose that you guys could possibly adopt tonight is a yes decision for the sewer line, right? So you show good faith to Eagle, to the developer, and to Salem Township with further studies. Gives you time, buys you 14 more days, but it shows that you guys are going in a direction for the best interest of Salem, Plymouth, Canton, people that are further down Fellows Creek. Just a little bit of a go light, you know, if you would. Well, I can tell you that I really enjoyed my position in Salem Township. I built the state police building. I redid the parking lot there. Many things I worked on there, and I really enjoyed it. I don't need the money. I'm a businessman. I didn't need the money. Didn't care about it. Didn't even want it. They had to give it to me because of the position. But when we as a town are not facilitating to help you guys to educate your board, your residents, like I and a couple other people made happen tonight, there's a problem. I was approached and talked to Supervisor Kermey, and I talked to Supervisor Whitaker about sending just one engineer over here. And he said he would, and then he said he's not sending anybody. I don't like that. That shows deception. I don't know what happened, but we were on a road. Everybody should have been on a page for a sewer line. And all of a sudden now we stopped caring about making you guys help us to understand what's in the best interest of everyone. Doesn't make good sense. And that's the only reason I'm asking is if you guys vote yes with Discovery, then Eagle will 100% work with you guys to work out a good resolution. That's all I'm asking. I mean, you could put it right in your literature.
All right, thank you.
You have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank
I will
you.
say to you that I am not comfortable voting for a resolution that is so ambiguous, and I understand what you're saying, but I think we need to send the message, this is not okay.
What scares me the most, if I may, what scares me the most is if you guys don't vote, that's as bad as voting no tonight. And Eagle can say, because that permit's been up in Lansing, and Representative Morgan's still here, that permit is there, it's ready to be handed to them, it's been held up. So there's a very good chance what happens tonight decides to fade. Because if they hand them that permit, there's no coming back here, there's no more Discovery.
And we have formally requested publicly that Eagle grant us an extension. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that. And we also have the support of Senator Byers and others that will work towards that same goal, but we appreciate your
I understand, but you got to realize that if the developer, and this is my own opinion, if the developer wants it, they're going to give it to him because he can sue at this point because it's went on so long.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to build the white.
We appreciate
Listen, I'm not here for Salem Township. I'm here because I live in Salem Township and I don't want a wastewater plant.
Like we're saying, wait.
Wait a minute.
Take your turn.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, who else wants to speak? You only got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Make it quick.
It's not gonna take that long. This has gone on a long time, and it's been a political football, and there's a lot of false accusations being made, and I think it's time that you move on with this. But one thing that concerns me is this community benefits. We had these community benefits with the racetrack, on and on and on, more. We ended up in a lawsuit, and I don't think we owe community benefits. They don't owe us community benefits. They've been hurt enough. Thank you. Pardon?
This is gonna impact us way more than Northville.
A sewer pipe going through here? No.
No, it's the.
Hi, Alex Wassel. Okay, I want to reiterate what the one gentleman said. I think we're on a timeline here. If we try to play rope-a-dope too much, the default settlement is the sewage treatment plant. Now, I went to buy the Ann Arbor's wastewater treatment plant on Geddes and Dixboro, just walking around with my wife once in the summertime. That is horrendous. That smell is terrible, and it goes a long way. So we should do whatever we can to make sure we don't get a default judgment for the sewage plant. Other than that, that's all I had to say. Thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody's discussion.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lee. I live in Fox Point Township. Mira. Really, my question would be, since you guys want to negotiate, get more information, leverage, blah, 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 that gentleman from Superior would know how the cost difference between running the pipeline and the treatment plant. That would be valuable to know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've heard numbers all over the place.
Yeah.
Anywhere from $30 to $50 million. I mean, it's only $20 million difference, what, you know, surrounding air. I'm joking.
Hi, my name is Gus Nassar. I actually live fairly close to this treatment plant.
What is your name?
Gus Nassar. Okay. Yep. And I really wanted to talk about some of the things, but they've kind of been repeated, so I'm going to skip to some of the key points here. I'm kind of against both right now. I'm against a water treatment plant because if we put it in there, we could open ourselves to negligence. We flood all the time in Fellow Creek, and adding 800,000 gallons, I don't need to be an engineer to say that if it flooded just a couple months ago, or even a year or two ago, it's going to flood fairly frequently. That being said, I don't know if it's trustworthy to say we should rely on Eagle either. Eagle's mission statement was to be to serve residents equitably and accountably. But they haven't been accountable to very much anything. And what I mean by that is we've been dealing with the air quality problems with the dump for the longest time. And yet we're going to turn around and say that they're going to be able to manage a water treatment plant. They're going to be able to manage the sewer system. They're not going to be able to police anything because they failed to contain the dump for years. And yet they can issue this permit, which won't be good for anyone here right now, and say, our hands are tied. So I really think that being that the entire pipeline exists outside of Salem, and the fact that everything is extremely vague. Now, when I go to buy a product, because I do a lot of product building myself, I know everything about it. We don't know anything about this. We say, okay, well, we're gonna manage it, or we're gonna be responsible for this, but there are no plans anywhere. Where's the engineering plan? Like, how could we say yes to something without knowing the details behind it? But that's what we're doing. And to say that water would be added to the existing water in the creek, we know that that would destroy everything. So Fellows Creek, I'm moving on from that. But even the connection to Utah?
YCUA?
Yes. No, that's Yucca. The other one, you were telling me it would take a very long time.
Western Township Utilities?
Yeah. Building a pipeline is going to take a very long time. To say that there's just no time to do the research and that our hands are tied and there's a gun to ourselves right now surprises me because this has been going on for a very long time. So now we got to get up and move and rush and go when we already waited this long without any information at all. I'm sorry, there should be a third option, and Eagle should have said no to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bruce Byer. I'm a resident of Canton, just across the road. And I've been following this a lot because I have to cross Fellows Creek to get to my house. My driveway crosses Fellows Creek. So what was perfectly adequate for a bucolic little stream in 1993 is regularly I'm being flooded over the driveway. So while the sewage treatment plant would be absolutely cataclysmic for me, even the development is going to be disastrous. So what I'm urging you at this time is to poll your residents, because I'm sure there's other people north of me or upstream of me in Plymouth Township that are going to have similar problems, to have the developer and or Salem Township offer remediation for this proposed development. Because I will not be able to get into my house if either goes through on a regular basis.
So when you say remediation, solve the flooding problem?
Solve the flooding problem, or if the people need a new culvert, provide a new culvert. Or if the people need a dam to prevent the water from going into their basement, provide a dam. The water level in Fellows Creek, where I'm at, has easily doubled since the two subdivisions were put in Plymouth Township. Except I was too young and stupid, of course, at that time to speak up. And in our system of law, if I'm adjacent to a property, I have a voice. You get notifications, yes, this development is going, but if you're downstream, there's nothing. You just have to watch out for yourself. I never got, I was obviously never got any sort of official notification that, oh, Salem's going to do this, and by the way, it's going to add X gallons to Fellows Creek, and you may have a problem. So for your residents, I would encourage you to do your due diligence for them and use whatever leverage you have to provide remediation.
Canton Township is attempting they want this pipeline badly in Canton Township.
Well, it's a better alternative than the sewage. Right. Like I say, it would be, sewage would be cataclysmic, and then this is merely disastrous. Either way, I'm going to have to do something.
Some stormwater remediation in Canton Township. Maybe not in your area, but they are. That's one thing they're considering.
Some years ago, Canton Township.
Pardon?
Some years ago, Canton Township upgraded their crossings, like let's see, on Warren and some of the Ridge Road.
Okay.
But
right.
Thank you.
I don't have that money. Thank you.
Good evening, Rich Childs, 9160 Woodbury. I'm going to try to be real succinct here. A lot of this, I think people have brought up, but pursuant, I want to thank Mr. Garshevitz. He's the first one that asked Ms. Vergona about downstream effects, which is a lot of what we're hearing about here. And while effluent is one thing, my concern is more about the effect on the property values, both to people in Plymouth and in Canton. I think Canton's going to see more of it, because it seems it's a little frustrating that what's happening here. I'm in favor of development, I'll say that, but here the benefit to a developer is being transferred to a negative effect on property owners along Fellows Creek, who I think are going to find themselves the next time the FEMA maps are updated, sitting in a flood zone, which means additional cost for property insurance annually. That's going to go on for years. You just heard from Bruce about what's going on at his property. I've been at his home and I know what it's like there. The creek runs close by, and I agree with him. There's going to be times when he'd be stuck in the drive, not coming out or going in. That's going to happen in many areas further south. So the flood effect, I'm a little concerned with Eagle that it doesn't seem that they looked enough at the downstream effects that are going to happen by adding this additional flow to the creek. Many spots on the creek, when you go down Joy Road and you'll see it cross there, I was there 2 days ago. You can walk and it's ankle deep, but on a good rain like we had a couple weeks ago, we heard about Tonquish downtown Plymouth, but same thing over there, flooding over the banks, spilling into a lot of areas. It's going to have a significant effect on the value of those properties. And what it seems to me is this just is a transfer of equity from the folks in Plymouth and Canton to Showstack to be able to develop this property without any kind of remuneration, as Mr. Byer just asked for. I know with locally, when Eagle does things, they don't look, the upstream catch basin area, it has to be more than 2 square miles before they have detailed information. So in this case, that 2 square mile area probably includes some of the residents that are on the east side of Napier in Plymouth Township. So I don't think they don't have data to go with it. I don't know where the first gauging station on Fellows Creek is, because that's how the engineers come back and determine what the effect of these flows are going to be. I know this has been going on for a long time. I've sat in other meetings with some of you, and it's frustrating for all of you, I'm sure, and us as residents, that it comes to this point, because as Mr. Doshevitz said, it almost looks like it's a fait accompli at this point. I believe that the permit's sitting there. I appreciate what the gentleman from Salem said, that maybe something needs to happen here to buy you time. I understand, Sandy, that you're not comfortable with that, but I also look at the realities of the machinations in the background, and I hope we can do something to stop this sewer plant from occurring over there. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Joe Gondoli. I live on Fellows Creek Court. And
In Canton?
No, in Plymouth.
Plymouth.
About less than a half mile from probably where the plant would be. My sump pump is still pumping from rain from last week. I will have to move. If you know, the minute I know this plant, if it was to be built, I will have to move, because there's just no way where my house is, it can handle that kind of water. I'll just leave it simple. He brought most of the stuff I was going to bring up too. So.
What is your recommendation of what you want us to do?
Well, I understand you guys have a tough decision, and unfortunately you don't have the time to maybe make the educated decision, but from what it seems, this has been going on for 10 years now.
30.
And it sounds like there's kind of a gun to the head, and the pipeline helps me better, I'm going to be honest.
Even with the vast amount of houses and commercial that they'll put in?
That doesn't bother me near as much. Heck, I wouldn't mind being able to get to a grocery store that's closer than Kroger for me, but that bothers me less than, I would have to move, because there's no way in my basement, the minute I would hear it, I would have to move, because my house will have no value. My basement, I have a finished basement, it won't be finished anymore.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is George Hadley. I live in the Country Club Village.
Speak real loud.
Oh, sorry. My name is George Hadley, and I live in the Country Club Village subdivision, very near where this plant might go in. In terms of advice and recommendations, obviously the development is very detrimental. I don't know to what degree you have the power to stop the development. What I would say is that the development with a sewer line, if the development has to occur, is obviously preferable to the development with, I'm not sure how foul of language I'm allowed to use to describe the discharge plant across the street, but in any case, obviously having a wastewater treatment plant directly across the street and the development is worse than having the development in a sewer line. So just kind of my thought on the matter. This is my 7th year here in Plymouth. I've moved here and started a family, so I wish you guys good luck in your difficult decision. I hope to enjoy Plymouth for many decades to come, so good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, Kevin McNichol from Country Club Village. I just had 2 points. One is,
we keep dismissing the pipeline through Superior Township. And I'm wondering if anybody knows, was the judgment that there can't be any pipeline through any part of Superior Township, or they just can't build the proposed pipeline through Superior Township? Can anybody answer that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
All right, so different topic. I think that should be explored. Going back to somebody else's comment about the most direct route should be from one community in Ypsilanti, or one community in
Salem.
Washington.
From Salem through Superior.
Salem to Ypsilanti, it would be better to stay in Washington County than come over to Wayne County. Okay, so I'm just wondering if other alternatives were explored there. So different topic. We keep talking tonight, or it seemed like tonight was, the sewage plant versus the pipeline. But are we really talking apples to apples thing? The sewage plant was going to have an effluent of 840,000 gallons. I don't know how much that supports in terms of a development. Was it only sized to support 550 units that are being proposed as a development versus a pipeline that might be sized to support 2,000 units, 3,000, 4,000, how many units? So are we really making an apples to apples comparison there? Or if we did say that we would be okay with a pipeline, could we word the language that we would be okay to support a pipeline that was engineered to support 840,000 gallons a day? So those are my two comments. Thanks.
Any more?
Oh, my God.
Hello, my name is Paul Schultz. I'm a Plymouth Township resident. I think by tabling this, we're going the wrong direction. There's really only one choice, is to allow them to hook up to the pipeline, in my opinion. Time is up, and Mr. Shostak's going to build the plant, whether we like it or not, when he receives that permit. So if we keep tabling this and pushing it down the road, we're 2 minutes to midnight, and I think that we should take that in consideration tonight. And go back to the original idea. It's either you're going to approve the line or let them have the wastewater treatment plant. I think we're out of time. And I think actually, in my opinion, at this point, Mr. Shostak would just rather have a wastewater treatment plant. If we just keep tabling it, he's just going to go on with his development. So, I mean, how far can we push this down the road, looking for something from communities to hook up? You know, just give it to them for free. Give them the pipe, and let's move forward. Maybe we can make the arrangements after we agree to this over the next 14 days of liabilities. But I really truly think we're out of time. Now, I feel bad for some of the people around the community, around Fellows Creek. Was it just a rumor that some people are not able to get flood insurance? Does anybody know that?
He asked if the rumor is true that people cannot buy flood insurance. I don't know much about it, but it used to be, if you're not in a flood zone, you can't buy flood insurance.
Right.
I don't know if that's still the case.
Okay.
A designated FEMA flood zone.
Well, please consider reconsidering voting on this tonight and vote for the pipe. Give them the access. That's just my opinion. But you guys will lead the community, and that's your decision. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? But you're going to talk about marijuana?
Yes.
That's at the end of the meeting.
No.
That's what I was asking.
No. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm
The old pro.
Ron Cook. I'm a township resident for the last 40 years. I live in Country Club. And I'll be coming out facing the development every day. I don't have a problem with that because development brings people, students to our schools and everything. You know, what I do have a problem, if we give this easement for free, I would say if we're going to give that easement for them to come, we got to get compensated for it. I'm a real estate developer. I always have to pay something to do something, you know. And when I developed the subdivision right across from Salem High School, they said, what community benefit can you do? I said, I don't know, what do you want? Well, we want the Stub Street dismantled over across from high school because people are running through there. So I took the Stub Street out and landscaped everything and built a development. But the developers always have to pay a community benefit. So what I'm saying here, if you do the pipeline, I would say the taps are about $12,000 for a sewer tap. I would say say, hey, give us 2,000 of the 12,000 each tap sewer line. Hey, it comes into 600 taps, it's $1.2 million. Give it to our police and fire department, which they need not money. It's a way to make money off this deal for our fire and police. That's what I think. There's other things, with development, the 425 agreement. I'm doing a 425 agreement in Chelsea. I'm doing a development out there where we're sharing from Lima Township to Chelsea. We're sharing it, my taxes with Chelsea, and we're splitting the tax base on the houses. And the 425s are done. Or you can do the set fee. But like the attorney said, there's no rules on it. You can do that. They got to come through. We're first. If they're going to put the pipeline, they got to come through our community first to get to the other communities. So that's all I got to say. I just think we don't want to give away our easement for free. We want to,
Ron, do you think we can answer all reasonable questions in the next few weeks? And I would ask the Eagle representative to spend some time with Mr. Ron Cook, okay?
I think you can. I built the sewer plant 4 years ago in Green Oaks Township that holds 6,000 houses. And the township took the sewer plant over because they wanted to start charging the $15,000 sewer tap fees. So after we got it all done and up and running, the township just took it over and we got out of the business and they maintained it. It would become a public thing. So there's a lot of pros and cons, and my time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. I've never seen you at a meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
Okay, Ron.
Anyone else? Okay, now the board can deliberate a little bit.
So I'd like to just make one point to make sure, to clarify a statement I said earlier, which is that according to the letter from the director, the assistant director at Eagle, they have an off-ramp of building the waste treatment plant. So if they want to do that, they can do that without this pipeline. So my point being is that that's always an option, and it's an option between either the treatment plant or the pipeline. But if they really wanted to build the treatment plant, they would just do it. So I argue that the developer also prefers the pipeline, and at least at this juncture, and that is the potential leverage that we have, if we have any leverage whatsoever. So that's why I'm suggesting that we postpone this and attempt to meet with the stakeholders, which, to Ron Cook's point, should include the developer.
So you're proposing expanding the negotiations with Showstack?
I am.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll work on that this week. Do we have anyone that wants to make a motion? This motion? Hold on, you need to come to the, Eagle needs to come to the podium.
I was just asked, to make a qualifying comment about the permit for the pipeline versus the permit for the wastewater treatment plant, and I think related back to the off-ramps, right? If the decision is made to not pursue the pipe, then Eagle would issue the wastewater treatment plant permit. Right? We can't hold it anymore if you're not going to allow the pipe option. If the agreement is, or if the decision is made to pursue the pipe route, then we would not issue the wastewater treatment plant permit, right? Until the pipeline agreement could not be viable. Like, if there was something that came up in the engineering where, I don't know, I don't know,
Okay,
right?
yes, but contingent, meaning like we can still negotiate like this guy was saying?
I think we've just received a commitment from them that as long as we show good faith and we work towards an agreement on the pipeline, and we express the interest in the pipeline, you will hold the permit. We need to move forward pursuing what we can do to make the
Yeah,
pipeline work.
with a set time frame. I mean,
I
it's not
understand.
gonna be,
It's not unlimited.
it's, right.
I
And it's
understand that.
probably gonna be a very short window.
Right.
Very short window does not mean 6 months.
No, like 30 days, I don't know. Again, I can't give you an X number of days for what that might be. I mentioned that we would commit to working with the parties to figure out what that might be. But we aren't going to wait for the agreement and start issuing permits for the pipeline and then go ahead and issue.
Right.
That just doesn't make sense. And for me, like, I'm gonna be the one issuing the permit for that pipeline, right? That's a lot of work. I already went through it the first time. On the 10-mile route, you know, that,
Superior route.
yeah, it was a huge time suck. I've got a lot to do, like, and I'm not, yeah, we wouldn't do that.
I think we've shown the commitment
Yeah.
tonight, and whatever resolution we need to say that we want to pursue the pipeline issue, but we want to be sure that we're able to look at.
My point was that if they really wanted to build the treatment plant, all they have to do is say the pipeline is not feasible, and they have an off-ramp.
Yes.
According to Eagles, and they can build the plant. Eagle will, that's all they have to do is say, we looked at it and it's not feasible.
But
And
Eagle
then-
is not going to issue that permit arbitrarily without us having,
You're missing my point. My point is, that is our lever.
That's our lever.
right.
Explain your lever again.
Because if they really want to build the treatment plant, all they have to do is tell Eagle that the pipeline's not feasible. And if you read the letter closely, it says, we'll issue the permit if the pipeline is not feasible. All the developer has to do is send a one-line email to Eagle saying that we've looked at this and it's not feasible, and they get the permit like that. So if they really want the treatment plant, they could get the treatment plant.
Well,
by
I'm
waiting-
not so sure, I understand what you're saying. You may be cynical in thinking that our neighbors don't want to do the right thing. Maybe they do. Maybe they want the pipeline, Salem, and are cajoling
Well, I'm sure
and
they
moving that way. So,
Well, how do we know it's not for the purpose of expanding this project? We don't even know the scope of the project.
this
Like the
project
one
will
gentleman-
expand, if they have a pipeline, if they had a sewage treatment plant, they can expand at will as long as they continue to get a permit from Eagle. And they can also take leachate at will without asking why CUA, as long as they set up a pre-treatment system. So the expansion and the control over the development with using a sewage treatment plant on site at Salem is potentially unlimited, and I think the developer would like a sewage treatment plant versus what you said, Bob, that you think they would like the pipeline. The pipeline is really more hassle. They need to get 4 communities to agree. They get to deal with guys like you and me, negotiating community benefits. So my judgment is,
I think
it's
it's
risky to.
opposite. I don't think they
I think it's
want
risky to call the bluff of a well-financed developer. Lately, we've not won on calling the bluff of developers, remember that.
I'm not suggesting it's a bluff. I'm suggesting that they're heavily motivated to get the pipeline. Because if they weren't, they would simply tell Eagle that it's not feasible for the pipeline, and Eagle has already said we would issue the permit.
We know that, we know they want the
Has a
pipe,
comment on
we know they want the pipeline because they wanted to do a pipeline through Superior. They even went to court, all the way up to the appeals court. So we know that their preferred position is a pipeline. And so
Right.
therefore, I think Bob is correct in saying that's our lever.
I kind of want to clarify something too. The developer isn't the entity that's going to come through and say it's not feasible. We, Eagle, are waiting for the communities to determine that it's not feasible.
How could the community determine whether it's feasible or not? We're
Well,
not the
if
engineer.
you're not going to allow the development, the pipeline to go through your communities, if there's some deal breaker, I don't know what it, like if it was physically not
That's one of the
constructible.
three things in the off-ramp, but in the off-ramp, it was, if the communities don't agree to it, if it's not feasible, and what was the third thing?
But the commitment from Eagle,
Elimination of approved capacity at Yucca. So you got the capacity, you got the communities to agree to it, but the developer still is holding the cards with Eagle because they're saying, they can easily say it's not feasible. It's right here, it's your own language.
Well, what is the definition of feasibility in this case?
But
It's up to them.
go ahead.
we are waiting for the communities to make that determination that it's not feasible, not the developer.
By what standard? How are we supposed to determine that?
So that's where
Didn't we agree to this
Stantec,
at
the
last
engineering firm, like, they're the ones that are in charge of the engineering, the route, how it's gonna get built. That would be a question for them.
So engineering feasibility, not financial, or we don't know?
Financial's got to be an element. What if it's $700 million?
Right, that all has to be worked out.
Why would you vote for that? That was my point earlier, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
We're not doing public
But-
comments right
but
now.
That was the point I made earlier, unfunded liability.
But the cost is for the developer, not, I mean,
Okay,
that's not me.
You're right. The cost, Plymouth Township has no unfunded liability. That's a ruse. We are not paying for anything, including maintenance. So that's a ruse that somebody's hiding behind.
Taxpayers.
Well, okay, yeah, Michigan taxpayers.
Yeah, we already did.
Okay.
Just real
No,
quick.
well,
No.
we got it.
Sorry, I was on it for and I apologize.
Over.
So public comments are ended. So, does we have anybody that wants to make this motion with a contingency that we negotiate? We agree to this, but we negotiate for some type of benefit from Salem Township. If we don't get the benefit, then this doesn't apply. Do you want to show this as a gesture that we are into a pipeline, so Eagle goes away with that feeling?
I think we've already shown the gesture. I don't think we have to make a motion.
So nothing in
opinion.
writing, nothing on the record, other than
Right.
what we're saying.
Right,
Right.
because we have requested that Eagle withhold the permit and give us an opportunity. We're going to have to work with Eagle to make sure that we meet a quick
Now, I
timeline.
say that's not good enough. Do we have anybody that wants to do a motion then we add the contingency that we negotiate, this is contingent upon negotiating a satisfactory benefit from Salem Township?
A 425 or,
No, just a benefit, not a 425.
But they could just say no to it.
Okay, they say no, then the deal is
Vote
off.
for it.
Then
No, if they say, if we postpone it, they say no, then we have a decision to
Wait,
make
wait.
whether we're gonna,
Okay, excuse me.
you know, that.
Okay.
But, wait a minute, let me just finish one thought, John, quickly.
Oh, yeah, I've been listening to you all night.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, my
Go-
God.
Wait a minute.
I can't believe he just said that.
Oh, just say what you wanted to say in a clear, concise fashion. John, just wait.
If we postpone it, and then they say, you know, we don't want to have a conversation with you, then that gives us, that puts us in a position where then we make a decision at that later date.
To come back?
But, yeah, but then it's on them for not showing good faith.
Right.
All right, so we have no one that wants to make a motion?
No.
Jen wants to speak.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. With my 15-minute conversation on the telephone with Phil Argyroff in Chicago, it's my understanding that he is the most experienced, formal education, work experience. He will come in here with an opinion and recommendation of the highest credibility. I see no need to make any motion tonight. Let's wait for Phil Argyroff. And a lot of questions have been raised tonight. A lot of discovery needs to be made. Now, that's a lawyer word. A lot of due diligence needs to be done in the next, but these things can be done in the next few weeks. And I want to hear from Phil Argyroff, with no offense to Laura Verona. I want to hear from him, and he promised me he would come here first. Then he's going to Canton Township and apparently securing a vote from them on May 27th. So there's no need.
I agree.
If it's not necessary, then it's necessary not to do it tonight.
We won't do a motion then. We'll play our card.
Thank you.
So this week, Sandy Growth,
But you have something on the agenda, you have to dispose of it, because the agenda's been approved, so you need to
so
have
what
some.
we're gonna do is leading up to that,
Okay,
we're going to
good.
have a motion to postpone this.
So moved.
So
So moved to May
John
27th.
Stewart moves to postpone item F1 concerning the Salem Township wastewater treatment facility and consent.
Until when, the 27th?
May 27th.
May 27th.
Definitive
To
date.
May 27th.
Second,
Second? Second, Jerry Vorba.
right. I'll call the roll. Clerk Borba, yes. John Stewart,
Yes.
Sandy Grove,
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy,
Yes.
Trustee Clinton,
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All
So
right.
are you gonna give us the information and?
Yeah.
and
What kind of information you
capacity?
want?
Well,
You know
whatever
everything
you
I know.
guys- Well, whatever you guys are doing in the next 2 weeks. Are we gonna have
we can
a
keep you
closed
posted
session
with-
where we have that information
But,
given to us?
Let's talk about closed session. I don't think a closed session is legal to give the status of negotiations.
No,
So they would have to be public
yeah.
if you want that kind of information, or you allow these three people to do it.
Yes.
Or do you want to be one of the three people?
No, I'm just
No?
saying, well, in order for us to vote on the next time, we need that
Need to
information.
know.
Yeah.
Right.
So is that just gonna be part of our packet, like?
Yeah, I think that's what will happen.
Okay.
We'll have to do.
I suppose I could call some of you individually, but I don't know what I got to be careful about
Be a
that.
round robin.
Yeah. So, all right. Now we have comments from the public on anything, one more time. Well, no, you can't say that.
Oh, my God.
Good evening, Board. Roman Benson again. I wanted to start this evening's public comment for me with the following disclaimer to you and to anyone still remaining. I'm not a medical doctor on any level. However, since 2009, my wife and I have operated Alternative Solutions Plus, one of the largest medical marijuana certification clinics in the state of Michigan. To date, before recreational came on the market, we've certified close to 42,000 patients. So I have firsthand knowledge with the 4 physicians that work with us of what cannabis can do. That being said, I want to leave you with this evening. If anyone here, board or members, suffers from the following: cancer, glaucoma, HIV positive, AIDS, hepatitis C, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, agitation of Alzheimer's, nail patella, OCD, PTSD, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, spinal cord injury, colitis, inflammatory bowel control, ulcerative colitis, Parkinson's, Tourette's, autism, chronic pain, cerebral palsy, or if you have a condition that causes cachexia or wasting, causes severe and or chronic pain, severe nausea, seizures, epileptic seizures, muscle spasms, multiple sclerosis. Did you guys know that that small introduction of cannabis into your regular lives, on top of the opiates that you're taking, will alleviate and reduce the symptoms associated with any of those conditions? Again, I am not a medical doctor, but I've firsthand witnessed what it can do. Now, I know people will say, well, that's medical marijuana. Those are for people that need it. People need it for various reasons. It's the only material that's out there that has no negative effect with any synthetic opiate drug that you're taking at the time. If anything, I've witnessed people reduce their intake on those drugs. That being said, I know a lot of people will say, well, you know, recreational, and some board members have pointed out, it's not like going to a liquor store. When I come home from work, I have a couple of choices to make. I can grab a couple of bottles of scotch, grab a cigar, and relax. Or I could go visit the local cannabis store, buy myself some gummies, buy myself some flour, or maybe buy some THC soda. I can go home and I can just relax. Everyone relaxes in some fashion or another. However, I guarantee you, I'm not going to get sick if I do cannabis alone. However, I make it a daily habit of smoking cigars and drinking scotch on a daily basis. I guarantee you it's going to have an adverse effect on you. I guess in the end, give it some thought, think about it. I'm not the devil in the room trying to pollute the society. Thank you for your time.
Marijuana may be legal, but you don't have to hire people when you give them a test, and you can be fired for smoking marijuana. I employed 1,800 people, and things came up. If you were tested positive, the computer threw out you don't know who's going to come up. Any one of them is going to come up today. We don't know who it is. Well, if your number came up, we sent you off to rehab one time. The second time, you lost your career. You lost your pilot's license. You lost your mechanic's license. You're done. I remember we had a layoff one day, and it just happened this electrician, his number came up. He had to go get tested. And this was his second time. If he would have been laid off the day before, he wouldn't have lost his license. He lost his license, and he lost his career. All those years of education were gone. He could not work as an airplane mechanic ever again. So I think it's a dangerous thing to have here in our township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Real quick, and just give you guys.
Oh, just wait, come to so everybody can hear.
I can speak loud enough. You guys, with another development project that everyone wants to call the Elks Club, but that was the small piece of ground. It was the Wyckoff Steel land. But I own a property on East Side Drive, and I want to commend those of you that were on the board previously, because the developer over there is helping to pave the street, put sidewalks. The curbs are in right now. It's been a mess for the last couple months, but it's a positive thing that came through negotiations with the township and the developer. So we don't have to be Debbie Downers all the time. There's good stuff that comes out of this. So thank you.
Any more? All right, Township Board, John Stewart.
This afternoon, it was my privilege at 1 o'clock to speak to the State Board of Education, 4th floor of the Hanna Building. I was blessed to have met John Hanna, longtime president of Michigan State University, and then they named the education building after him. Michigan, according to the U.S. News and World Report, is ranked 44th in education, 42nd in infrastructure. basically what we were talking about tonight was infrastructure. Listening to the House was in session, the Senate was in session, I was in the state capitol, talked to a number of lobbyists, and there's unanimous consent. The most politicized township in Michigan is Plymouth Township. So I'll end with these kind words. This is Plymouth Township, Michigan. We work together, we build community, our future is bright, and we get to live here.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight and patiently listening to all of this. I would like to ask that we schedule the first meeting in June on the agenda to hear a presentation from Alternative Solutions so that we can make a decision on that one way or the other. And I would also like that we consider looking at a follow-up to the senior program and consider funding for the interim until such time as a task force or a committee can be established to start looking at some other funding possibilities.
So what date do you want this presentation from this gentleman?
Can we make it the first meeting in June? So whatever date that is, I don't have my calendar in front of me. Does anyone have a calendar?
All right, I'll worry about that.
The second Tuesday in June. I can tell you that. It's going to be the second Tuesday in June, correct?
Correct.
What is the date? That wouldn't be the first Tuesday.
We'll get it. It's the second Tuesday in June.
You will receive official word that we're.
Well, once we decide we're going to put it on the agenda.
Right, I'm asking,
Right.
yes. And the senior thing, perhaps the first meeting in June.
What are you going to do? You said you were going to lead a task force, so what are you going to do?
No, I am going to ask that this township board make a commitment to some funding for the position of the director so that we can make sure that this senior program continues until such time as we can look at some outside funding alternatives.
Well,
We need to stop gap or it's gonna shut down. That's my concern. That's my request.
Well, there are some other alternatives. We're in the middle of the budget year. I don't expect that to happen.
Well, we can't just.
We're not going to be
ignore it.
spending money in the middle of the budget year on something that's totally unanticipated.
Well, that's your opinion, but I would like to ask that we talk about it.
Okay, so you want an agenda, tell me what you want on the agenda item and we'll put it up again. We just did it less than a month ago.
Yeah, but that was just a presentation. I'm talking about us discussing the issue and any potential solutions we may be able to offer.
Okay, so we'll make a discussion item. I'm not going to prepare any
I'll prepare it.
analysis.
Yeah.
We're not ready yet, but anyway, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Jerry?
I'm fine.
All right, well, go ahead.
No, I'm
Bob
good.
Dorshevitz?
I'm good.
Jennifer Buckley?
Yeah, so in light of your request, Trustee Gross' request for the presentation on cannabis, I would encourage the board to first speak with our police officers. Okay, the first person that gave me information right away was Chief Nightel. I would point you to dfaf.org. So do your research, okay, because this is going to be a one-sided presentation. dfaf.org. The new Rocky Mountain HIDTA report on impact of marijuana legalization now available. Obviously, this is concerning Colorado, and it's not favorable. As well as my husband is a police officer, sergeant with Royal Oak, and he has plenty of experience with this new passage. And so you can interview him, you can interview me as well. And then, yeah, I just want to thank everyone for coming. Your feedback, your comments, your concerns are so valuable to the decisions we make up here. And I just thank you. It's a long night, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just everybody did a great job today. This is obviously a very huge difficult decision that we have to make. And it isn't over yet. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I think we're moving in the right direction. Sandy, thank you very much for making it happen. I had a lot of decisions. I didn't have to make anything because you made exactly the right decision, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, the only thing I have to report on is the Sprayscape will open on time by Memorial Day. It's a simple fix that will work for a long time.
We're gonna see you there in a bathing suit?
Yeah, I'll be frolicking around
I see you're gonna be there.
in a Speedo or something, right?
Yeah, I got my Speedo out.
Let's not talk about that.
All right, motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.